Hello, hello. It looks like we actually have audio tonight. We're batting 1,000. As you see, I'm in a scout uniform, so this is going to probably be a scout stream. However, you have joined the Jacob Jewett IT Training and Consulting channel. I, of course, am Jacob Jewett, and normally I talk about IT on this channel, but if you've watched my previous videos, you know that I said that when I was going to start streaming and stuff like that, I was going to have 3 channels. One was the IT stuff. The other one was going to be Once a Scout, which I may change the name of that because it looks like there's another person on YouTube that has that name. And then The Blind Leading the Blind. So I may keep Once a Scout. I figure there's enough audience for, everyone kind of thing. But anyway, yeah. So the reason why I'm in Scout uniform tonight is I volunteer pretty heavily with the Scouts. I've been a Scout since I was like 9 years old, and I never left. That's incorrect. I took a couple of years off, mainly because I was involved in scouting in Bakersfield, and there was some politics that were played, and I decided to take a little break for just a short period of time. But now my boys, I have 2 boys. I have one that's 13 and another one that's 14. They're involved in scouting, and so thereby I'm involved in scouting, and I kind of took it to the next level. So usually, one of the reasons why my live streams are on Wednesday and Sunday nights is because usually Tuesday nights is a scout meeting for my boys, where I act as an assistant scoutmaster and in charge of program. And then on the weekends, typically like the second weekend every month, or it sometimes moves around, we go camping. So it works out that I do my live streams on a Sunday, and it works out that I do them on a Wednesday because typically I don't do anything, or do anything on those nights anyway. So tonight was a little different. I was asked by the Scoutmaster of the troop I am an assistant Scoutmaster for to show up and talk to some Cub Scouts that we have moving over into the Boy Scout, or not Boy Scout. I keep on saying Boy Scouts. The organization is the BSA, or Boy Scouts of America. However, Boy Scouts is now considered scouting, and there's kind of a copyright claim on that because Girl Scouts aren't too happy with the Boy Scouts calling themselves scouting, because now under peer pressure, we've the scouting organization, or the BSA, has now allowed females into the scouting level of scouts, what used to be known as Boy Scouts, and now is just called Scouts. So anyway, I think it's pretty cool that we allow females in scouting now. The story I always tell is my dad was a single father, and my parents, of course, had separated, and whenever I lived with my father, but whenever my sister would come to visit, she would go on campouts with us because there was nothing else that we could do. My dad couldn't leave her in the house by herself, kind of thing. So she would come on campouts with us. She would stay with my dad in the tent, or she would have her own separate tent, as she got older and stuff like that. But she did all the same activities that the boys did, or I did, for that matter, but never got any of the recognition. And she was the type of girl that, and still is that type of girl to this day, didn't really care too much for the Susie Homemaker kind of stuff that at the time, I can't really speak for Girl Scouts now, but at the time that she was in Girl Scouts, that was kind of what it was, like, oh, you need to learn how to cook and keep house and, do planning and stuff. I think the Girl Scouts have kind of moved with the times, And I kind of hope that they're no longer, strictly like Susie homemaker kind of thing. But a lot of girls just don't like, doing Girl Scouts and having to sell cookies and basically, lead the brownies to higher and all that stuff. And my understanding, and again, this is my understanding, Girl Scouts typically still have like moms involved, and they basically run the meeting, and the girls kind of just follow along. And if I'm incorrect, please correct me. I have no problem with that. I don't want to spread misinformation, but scouting has always been a program I liked. I'll be honest. When I was younger, I didn't really care much for Cub Scouts, but I see the merit of Cub Scouts. I do like the fact that Cub Scouts now is family based, where a whole family can come in, a mom, dad, sister, brother. They can come in and do the the Cub Scout experience. And then when they get to scouting age, as it's currently set up, it is kind of still a little segregated, but you have female troops and then you have male troops. And I've kind of voiced my opinion on this. I see the merit for it. I understand why there's that separation, mainly because, let's face it, when we were all, if you really do look back on it, when we were all like 11, 12 years old to 18 years old, our hormones were going wild and probably try to get away with more than we should, right? So I understand the merits for keeping the two separated, but also with the way the current climate is and kind of where it's going, I honestly wouldn't be too surprised if scouting just became co-ed, in the near future. We got merit badges that they have out now, like citizenship in the society, or society, was it society and community? I forget the name of it, but basically it's an Eagle required merit badge now that requires you to kind of understand what's going on around the world, and certainly in the United States, as far as like gender equality and things like that. So it was originally called forget exactly what it was going to be called, but it's basically equality and stuff like that. So I get it. Being that they have that merit badge now, I honestly think it's only a matter of time before we have like co-ed, and it's about time in a way. I think we're one of the only countries left that still segregates boys and girls as far as the Scouts is concerned. I know the Girl Scouts aren't going to like it because I believe the BSA has a better program, just from the experience I've gone through. Again, just like I think scouting has its merits in both having males and females and male and female troops, I see the merit in Girl Scouts. There's some girls that like Girl Scouts and sell Girl Scout cookies. Half my fat on my body is probably from eating Thin Mints and some other version of Girl Scout cookies. Yeah, so I volunteer a lot. I'm really into scouting. It changed my life, and I see it changing the lives of scouts that are currently in it. And we just do a good program. So I have a tendency to stick my foot in my mouth when it comes to scouting. I'm one of those people that's involved in scouting that tend to volunteer for just about anything, and typically get myself into trouble. So I'll give you an example. My scout troop that again I'm assistant scoutmaster in. did what was called the Klondike Derby this last weekend, and that is a program that's typically put on by the district. And I was at the event personally to help support the troop. Basically, be in scouting, you have what's called two deep leadership. So you don't have like one scoutmaster goes with the boys or the girls to a camp out, and they, you got all these kids or all these scouts under one scoutmaster, and gee whiz, let's see what happens. Scouting is always like two deep leadership or using the buddy system or something like that. And it's about youth protection. So typically a troop will not go camping if they don't have at least two adults to go on the trip. So a camp trip will get canceled. So this Klondike Derby that we did this last weekend, basically what it is it's set up like, the scouts build sleds and they do different skills, go to different areas and do different skills along a predetermined trail at a scout camp. And they test their skills against other troops, and it's a bit of a competition, stuff like that. Unfortunately, due to weather issues, there was 2 Klondikes going on the same weekend. And the troop had signed up for a Klondike Derby that was ran by another district at another camp. And unfortunately, due to lack of adult leadership, we had to make a change of plan. So the troop that I volunteer for, I ended up going to the same Klondike Derby I was going to because I was a volunteer at that Klondike Derby. And just helping out and assisting, because not only am I an assistant scoutmaster for the troop that my boys belong to, but I'm also a unit commissioner for the district of the council that my troop's in, and that we're currently residing in. So so I have other responsibilities. I help take care of like 4 other units right now. That number's probably going to go up a little bit, but I help with 4 other units right now where I go in and I assist, I answer questions, I help them with issues that they're having. I'm the conduit between the unit and the council, or the unit and the district, and the unit, district and council, and I help out there. And so I just volunteer a lot. If I'm not at work, if I'm not on here doing videos, live streaming or recording videos, or doing something here, the high likeliness that the other thing I'm doing is I'm doing scouts. Like I'm working with the scouting program in my region and helping units and doing what I can. So going back to the fact that I have this problem of volunteering way too much, my wife will tell you that. She will tell you that I volunteer way too much. And one of the things I ended up doing this weekend was the gentleman that ran or is running the Klondike Derby, or ran the Klondike Derby this year. He's been doing it for a while. He's been, I think, through discussions, I found out he had been doing the Klondike Derby for about, I want to say 20 years, 26 years, something like that. He said 2006, but I think it's been longer from some of the other people I've talked to. And he's an older gentleman, and he has decided to retire. And when you have someone that's volunteered that long and decides to retire, a lot of times they'll say, "Hey, I'm looking to retire," and people go, yeah, sure you are. We'll see you next year, He, however, was really ready to retire, and my head and my mind said, "Jacob, step back. Don't do it. Don't do it. Jacob, step back." And then next thing you know, I was stepping forward, and so I'm running our district's Klondike Derby next year, and I'm very excited about it. Have a lot of ideas, and Um, just really just excited about helping scouts out and giving them an adventure to enjoy for a weekend in, cold winter camping kind of thing. So it's well worth it. I mean, I have never been embarrassed to be involved in scouting. I've never been embarrassed to wear my uniform. Uh, People who know me from high school days, I literally would go to high school, and that's just asking for a beating sometimes. I would literally go to high school with my uniform on to, because I had a meeting that night, whatever. I just always been very about scouting. So anyway, talked a little bit more about it than I wanted to, but I'm in uniform because I just got back from a meeting. You probably, if you look close enough to the video, you'll probably capture stuff in my teeth at some point because I literally got home from the meeting, sat down and ate really quick, and then started this live stream. So yeah. So I have some great news. I am going to have an interview with Matt Mitchell, who's was a high school friend of mine. Matter of fact, we were friends before high school. Matt Mitchell and I think we initially met in Kendrick Elementary School when we were younger, and then we went to junior high. Kind of lost contact. Maybe worked together a little bit during that time. But around middle school is when I got into computers. I was starting to find them as an interest, and Matt Mitchell was there for that first part of it. So I had gone to I was mowing lawns. I was 13 years old, and I was mowing lawns, making money, helping out my dad and stuff like that. And I came across a yard sale. And when I came across this yard sale, I was looking at the different kinds of software that the person was selling. And they were selling this piece of software that I never heard of before, but it was Mustang Software Wildcat BBS. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And I read the back of the box, and it was like, create a server and, share information, and people dial in using modems and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. So I think I picked up that piece of software. If I remember, I paid like $1 for it. The same yard sale that I picked up that software from, they were selling like modems. Apparently the person that was having the yard sale had their own BBS at one time, and they were selling modems, and I got a 4-port modem. It was like a very slow modem. It was like, I think 26 baud modem or something like that. 28 baud, something like that. Anyway, so I took both things. I think the modems cost me like $3. The software cost me $1. And I took it home, loaded it on my Packard Bell computer, and which at that time, my Packard Bell computer, I had for a year. My dad bought it for me from Walmart of all places on layaway. And about that time, I had bastardized the computer. I had stuff hanging out of it, hard drives hanging out of it, and if you do any research on Packard Bell computers, they were known as being sealed box computers. Like, basically you buy the computer and you really just you use it until it's dead and you're done. You don't like add on to it or upgrade it or any kind of thing like that. However, I did the opposite. I upgraded it like crazy, and I eventually ended up running a BBS, a bulletin board service, is what BBS stands for. I ended up running a BBS from my house on this Packard Bell computer with a 4-port modem that I purchased from a yard sale for $3, and a piece of software called Mustang Wildcat Software. I think it was the version I had was like 3.6 or 3.5 or something like that. And I ran that BBS on that Packard-Bell computer, and Matt Mitchell was the gentleman that, well, at the time he was a kid just like me. At the time we were friends, and I would do something on my BBS. I'd call him up on the phone. I'd be like, "Hey, Matt, I just changed this. See if it works." And then we would hang up. He would call into my BBS system, and he would, connect. And, I hear him connecting through the modem and stuff. It makes a really nice sound. And if you're a kid and you've never heard a modem in this day and age, and you probably haven't because everything's like cable modems and stuff like that. But back in the day, we had dial-up modems, and the best way to describe them things is if you've ever sent a fax and you've heard the sound a fax machine makes when it makes a outgoing call or receives a call, that's the same sound a computer modem would make. And so he would connect. He would tell me whether it worked or not, and we get back on the phone, and we'd be, laughing or whatever, and I would change something else, call him again, or, have him over my house, and I would show him how I had these floppy disk drives that I put in the computer that, I wrote batch scripts for starting, King's Quest for my dad, so he didn't have to click on anything, or starting Doom, or Wolfenstein 3D. Instead of having to type in commands every time, I had these disks that I just put in and boot up, and they go straight to the application. I guess that impressed him, and something that remained with him. But I've known Matt Mitchell through the years. He, when we ended up in high school together, I think it was my junior year of high school. Matt Mitchell is responsible for me meeting my mentor, the gentleman that basically changed my life for the better. The guy that got me to graduate high school, the guy that gave me direction, and the guy that to this day will still not tell you that. He will still basically tell you that I did it all on my own and blah, 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 and he had nothing to do with it, but he's a lying sack of dog doo. He knows what he did. He made it to where I graduated and stuff like that. So that was Phil, and Phil's just an amazing individual. And I have Matt Mitchell to thank for that. He is the one that actually got me into that direction. And I am very excited that he's agreed to... I'm sorry, I got something in my eye. I'm very excited that he's agreed to join me for an interview. And we've planned that interview to be not this Sunday, or I think it's next Wednesday is when I'm going to do the interview with Matt Mitchell. So I'm just very excited about it. He's a very cool guy. He's been working for a multi-billion-dollar a year company where he's acted as the IT manager for them for like 16 years. I think he put in his notice, so I don't think it's any big secret, but he's decided to change jobs, and so we might talk about that some. But he worked for that company for 16 years in the capacity of being a manager and having other people work under him and or work for him. So I think he'll bring great insight into what it took for him to get where he is at, how he got into technology, what got him into the area that he wanted to get into, and how he felt about managing people. Not only that, he had to hire a whole bunch of people, so I'm sure he's hired people and he's fired people, and so I I plan on picking his ear on that, on how he felt about it. I mean, I know from the perspective of owning a business and having to hire and fire people. I mean, at one time I I actually fired my best friend, which would be kind of, we've talked about it, made up since, but it'd be neat to have that gentleman in on an interview one of these days and talk about it, because we could definitely give you the cautionary tale of going into business with your good friend, and how that can affect a relationship and stuff like that, and the lessons learned from that. I mean, I think we've both grown as individuals in that situation, but I've literally had to fire a friend, and kind of deal with the fallout from that. It's not exactly fun, but managing people it can be fun. It can be stressful. It's there's a lot to it, So anyway, I'm gabbing along, but the fact is I do have a couple interviews coming up. I've got an interview scheduled with Matt Mitchell, as I said, next Wednesday. And then my next interview after Matt is going to be with another gentleman. His name is Jonathan. He was a student of mine at Kaplan College, where he was in the CST program. He has an interesting story. It's one of my favorite stories to tell. It's a story that warms my heart, because basically Jonathan, when he was my student at Kaplan College, he was a dishwasher for a hospital. He used to wash dishes. Obviously, he's a dishwasher. So he was doing, I think at that point, he had been doing it for 2 years. And obviously, most people I know that have been dishwashers, they don't typically like being dishwashers or want to be dishwashers. But he was a dishwasher for a hospital, so obviously he had a lot of trays to clean and stuff like that. And I'll never forget the day that he, in class, he stayed behind one day because he wanted to ask me a question, and he told me that he was interested in going for something, and I gave him some advice, and he listened. Not saying I'm certain I'm not 100% the person responsible for it, because he had to take the action, and he took the action. He just needed a little guidance, and Jonathan's still working for that hospital. Now he's a network engineer or network manager, which is freaking awesome. I spoke with him earlier tonight, and he unfortunately can't join me for a live stream because he has to work on particular days when I do live streams. So what I'm going to do with him is I'm going to pre-record the live stream and then post it on that following Wednesday. So the plan for the next couple of live streams is I'm going to have a live stream this Sunday, and I'll come up with a topic, hopefully better organized, because I won't be in a scout uniform coming from a scout meeting. But Wednesday I will have a live stream, and I'll announce the topic before I post or go live. And then that following Wednesday, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is the 23rd, next week on the 23rd, I will have Matt Mitchell joining me for a live interview, live stream. And then the following 27th, I will have another live stream. I'll record the interview with Jonathan on the 28th, and then on the 2nd of March, I will post that interview with Jonathan, and probably go live a little bit after that interview is complete, just to say, hey, hey, I'm a live person and all that stuff, and it's not just pre-recorded. And during that time, during that live stream on the second, when I'm playing the recording of the interview with Jonathan, I'm going to also be in chat, and so if anyone has questions or anyone has wants to be interactive during that time, I will be answering chat. So anyway, that's the plan. I'm going to be doing some more scout videos here soon. As I plan the Klondike for next year, for 2023, I may post updates here about that, and so on and so forth. If you have any questions about scouting, if you have any questions about IT, if you have any questions about CompTIA certifications, please do not hesitate to post them in the comments section. I'll be happy to answer them. If you have questions during a live stream, don't hesitate to ask. I am happy to answer questions if I can during a live stream. These live streams are here to help people looking to do A+ certifications or CompTIA certifications. I keep on saying A+, but I mean really, this live stream is here to help people. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. I do these live streams every Sunday from 9 p.m. until I'm done. That's Eastern Time, or 6 p.m. Pacific until I'm done. And then on Wednesdays, I do them. So every Sunday and Wednesday from 9 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific until I'm done. So if I don't see a whole bunch of people watching, if I don't see people asking questions, typically I will end these live streams early. But again, if you missed the live stream, if you have a question, don't hesitate to ask. I'll do my best to answer. If you have any suggestions on topics, please post them. I'm happy to answer, or I'm happy to take your topic and run with it, and kind of gear these towards that. So again, as I always end these things, I hope that you're healthy and safe. I hope that your family is healthy and safe. And until next time, be good. Have a good one.